Jon Moxley's Forbidden Door opponent revealed. Zack Sabre Jr. calls out a major AEW star for Forbidden Door. And speaking of a major NXT player has suffered a reported shoulder injury last night. And 3 titles change hands at NWA Alwayz Ready. Hello, welcome to WhatCulture Wrestling here on a Sunday with solo Sunday news. Myself, Andrew Pollard. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, yada, yada, yada. But most importantly, be sure to have a very good Sunday. Whatever you're doing, if you've got nothing planned, if you've got loads of things planned, I hope you have a great Sunday. I hope it's going cool so far. I hope it goes cool for the rest of the day. And speaking of days, it's only a matter of days, well, a few weeks away from AEW X NJPW Forbidden Door, and we now know it will, as many people have presumed, be Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Jon Moxley to crown the interim AEW World Champion. Now, last night, well, I say last night, as I'm recording this video, it's still actually going on. New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion took place last night. Right now, will have finished by the time you're watching this anyway. And Tanahashi, as expected, defeated Hiroki Goto to confirm himself a spot against Mox to crown the interim AEW World Champion at Forbidden Door on 26th June from Chicago's United Center. There was, Tanahashi did Tanahashi things. He put Goto away with, it was the Aces High, then a High Fly Flow, which is always easy for me to say on a Sunday morning when I've had too much caffeine. And yeah, it's gonna be Moxley, it's gonna be Tanahashi, the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling, against the Death Rider in just a matter of weeks. And this is a match that's been brewing for, it feels like forever. Like, it feels like in my head this was kind of before the pandemic, but it wasn't before the pandemic because Moxley was still technically with WWE. Anyway, it's been a while coming. This match has been going. It's been teased. Moxley's cut promos on Tana several times. There was the whole. It seems like this match has been on the cusp of happening forever. And speaking of dream matches for Forbidden Door, it looks like we may finally be about to get Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. Now, of course, the two have faced off actually before, twice, in fact, back in 2008, which Danielson won, and in 2009 for WXW in Germany, which Zack Sabre Jr. won. But clearly, these are two men, especially in the case of Zack Sabre Jr., who are very different performers now to what they were in 2008, 2009. I mean, Danielson was still very much one of the best on the planet at that point in time. He still is today, but also so is Zack Sabre Jr. right now, as he has been for the last several years. Now, this is a match that people have been salivating, maybe seeing happening, and at Dominion last night or this morning or whenever. Time zones, man. Time zones are crazy. Zack Sabre Jr. Well, Suzuki-gun were unsuccessful in challenging for the 6-man, well, the never openweight 6-man titles. And after that, though, I mean, it wasn't a case of, right, okay, we've lost, let's go with our tails between our legs. No. Zack Sabre Jr. cut a promo backstage where I've got the exact quotes here. He called out Bryan Danielson, basically. He said, I know you're busy playing golf with the Blackpool Country Club guys, but let's make it clear who the best technical wrestler in the world is. No, I'll tell you now, I've decided. So Zack Sabre Jr. is saying, like, man, I'm the best technical wrestler in the world. Bryan, stop arsing around with your pals, the Blackpool, the Blackpool Country Club, as he called it, playing golf. And so this seems like another further step to get in, finally, Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. at Forbidden Door. Now, this is a match clearly Bryan Danielson has talked about several times, an opponent Danielson has talked about several times. Recently, it was an interview with Sports Illustrated where he name dropped, it was Zack Sabre Jr., it was Kazuchika Okada as dream opponents for Forbidden Door. And after he mentioned those two, he did kind of zone in more on Zack Sabre Jr. as being like the one he wants to face right now to prove who the best technical wrestler in the world is. And it looks like this is edging ever closer. Now, Bryan Danielson, of course, at the moment is out with some undisclosed injury. He's said to be banged up before Double or Nothing. Now, some people have speculated that maybe it's a concussion he's had in the Anarchy in the Arena match. Mike Johnson at PW Insider, who's always reliable with this stuff, has come out and said that is absolutely not true, that it's not a concussion issue. And the belief is that Danielson will be back fit, raring to go by the time of Forbidden Door in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, if Danielson's fit and healthy, it looks like we very much will be getting Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. And damn it, man, I am so here for that. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. What's not good, though, is some unfortunate news this morning for fans of Tony D'Angelo. Yes, the Don of NXT suffered a reported shoulder injury last night at a live event from Largo, Florida. Now, this, of course, NXT, the NXT brand, the NXT 2.0 brand, only started touring again on Friday. This is Sundays we're recording this. Obviously, it's all Sunday news, innit? So NXT started touring again on Friday, the first time in over 2 years that the brand has toured. And 2 nights in, you have a major injury to, let's face it, one of your biggest stars in NXT, because since the relaunch, the rebranding into NXT 2.0, Tony D'Angelo has been one of those guys who is just being forever featured. He's on every single week. He's had his big wins over Pete Dunne, over Tommaso Ciampa. This is a guy that clearly got big plans for. He's now got his stable. He's got Stacks and Two Dimes. He's got Legado del Fantasma under him as well. And it seemed like, judging on this past week's NXT programming, that we were looking at maybe getting some sort of Tony D'Angelo versus Carmelo Hayes match for the North American title. Now, looking at it's fan reports at this point in time. There's people who were in attendance that shared out the photos of Tony D injured in this match. And that was a match against Cameron Grimes. It was stopped by the referee because of what is said to be a shoulder injury to Tony. And it's a case of see what happens from here when more official details come out, when more reports come out, see how severe the injury is. Hopefully it's not one that's too bad. Hopefully it's one that won't keep him on the shelf for too long. And if he is on the shelf, maybe it's one of those injuries where Tony D'Angelo can still be the Don of NXT by appearing on the weekly television product, just as a character, as a presence to cut promos. Because we've seen before over the years. I mean, famously, Stone Cold Steve Austin is the big one where just because someone's injured and unable to wrestle doesn't mean they have to be off TV completely in some circumstances, because Austin became white hot when he was out injured. And maybe that's it for Tony D. If he is out injured, we can still see him on TV because NXT clearly view him as a guy who they've got a lot of faith in leading that brand forward, and who knows, maybe the main roster at some point. So yeah, all the best to Tony D'Angelo. Hopefully it's a swift recovery. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But what we have waited and seen, one of the big talking points for me anyway, as a big NWA fanboy for the past couple of weeks, is what is going to happen at Alwayz Ready? Now, Alwayz Ready is a pay-per-view that happened last night, and it was a pay-per-view built around Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona, the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. The branding was all about Matt Cardona. The Alwayz Ready, there was a Z or a Z, depending where you're from in the world, in the Always, very much in tune with Matt Cardona, aka the former Zack Ryder. The colors were, the poster, everything was built around. It was very much... I mean, it'd be unfair to label it a one-match card, but it was very much the promotion for it was around Matt Cardona defending the NWA World's title against two-time NWA World's Champion Nick Aldis. Now, Cardona, of course, a couple of weeks ago suffered an injury for GCW against Blake Christian, I believe it was, where he caught him from a dive and something went. And it was a case of, right, what does this mean? How bad is the injury? It looked like it was going to require surgery. It did ultimately require surgery. And what does that mean for the title match? Alwayz Ready, because even going into the pay-per-view yesterday evening, ahead of the show starting, it was still promoted as NWA World Champion Matt Cardona versus Nick Aldis. Now, it would end up being Trevor Murdoch who left Alwayz Ready as your new NWA World Heavyweight Champion. This, of course, marks Murdoch's second reign. Murdoch previously beat Nick Aldis, and then Murdoch dropped it to Matt Cardona back in, I think it's February this year. It was a Power Trip. So yeah, we got to this situation because Matt Cardona was there in person. It's a bicep tear he's got. He's going to be out for a few months. He relinquished the title, the NWA World title, and a four-way match was made, a fatal four-way of Trevor Murdoch versus Nick Aldis versus Tom Latimer versus Sam Shaw. Now, Sam Shaw, as some people will just know him as Dexter Lumis. Before he was Dexter Lumis, he was Sam Shaw in Impact Wrestling and a few places beyond. It looked like he very much was in the Dexter Lumis character and gimmick. Previously, the Dexter Lumis character isn't exactly a million miles away from the Sam Shaw character we saw before he was in WWE. When he was in Impact, he was always somebody where, I don't know, he's very quirky. He's sometimes a little bit nuts. He talked a lot more in Impact Wrestling, but he was like, they'd have him doing skits where he's like in a mental asylum or stuff like that. And then he goes to NXT and becomes a serial killer. Yay! Go! What a gimmick to give somebody. Anyway, Sam Shaw was in this match, but he was not successful because Trevor Murdoch emerged victorious after hitting a top rope bulldog on Nick Aldis, of all people, to get the 1, 2, 3. And now is your new World Heavyweight Champion. So we'll see where things go from here. But that wasn't the only title to change hands at Alwayz Ready, because the Commonwealth Connection, Doug Williams and Davey Boy Smith, defeated La Rebellion to become the new NWA World Tag Team Champions, and Pretty Empowered defeated the Hex. A big fan of the Hex, especially Alison Kay, one of the most underrated workers in the business, I think. But yeah, Pretty Empowered are the new NWA World Tag Team titles. Now, loads of other belts were defended because the NWA right now has many, many belts. All the others were successfully retained, though. So you had Camille, actually, I've got them all down here. It's easy just to run through these. Camille defeated Kylan King to retain the women's title. Kylan King's one of those where whenever I see her, she always grabs your attention. Well, she's been doing stuff with the NWA. She does quite a lot on AEW Dark. It's like, yeah, there's something there. But Camille retained the NWA women's title against Kylan King. Tyrus retained the TV title against Mims. Jack Stain retained the national title against Chris Adonis, the former Chris Masters. And Homicide retained the junior heavyweight title twice. First against PJ Hawks, then against Colby Carino, because Colby Carino cashed in a title shot that he's got and came up short. Right, a couple of quick questions to run through before we get wrapped up. Hector Garcia III. Hey, Hector. Wish you a happy Solo Sunday. Cheers, Steve. Just to change things up from dog pics. Sadly, it passed away. Yeah, of course. As always on a Sunday, if you got pictures of any pets, send them my way. Always brightens my day on a Sunday. When I'm here working away, the only person. So, yeah, it puts a smile on my chops. Yeah, wish you a happy Solo Sunday. Just to change things up from dog pics. Sadly, it passed away in 2020, but this was my son's pet, Snake. Thanks for sending that one in, Hector. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of most underutilized on WWE main roster, past or present? Mine's Finn Balor, Shayna Baszler, Andrade, and FTR. Thanks for this. This is like, I'm trying to keep this video relatively short for poor editor Ryan not to have too much work to do today. But when you ask a question like this, Hector, man, I feel like I need like rather than Jericho had like the list, the 1,004 holds. I feel like I need a list like 1,000 of that kind of length on old printer paper, 1,004 released talents or underutilized talents that W dropped the ball on over the years. Where do you even start on this? I think everyone you mentioned there, yeah, absolutely. The one that really stands out of the ones you listed for me, Shayna Baszler, if we're talking present. Oh my man. Just, you have this killer. You booked her as a killer. You positioned her as a killer. She was a brilliant killer in NXT, and you bring her up to the main roster, and she's a vampire. She's not quite a vampire, but yeah, she bit Becky Lynch and then lost at WrestleMania. There was the really cool Elimination Chamber, to be fair, where Shayna was just a monster and just brutalized everybody. And there's the cool bit where you're waiting. As a Star Wars nerd, it reminded me at the end of episode 1. Not the greatest of the movies, I'm not going to say this, but there are some awesome moments in it. And after Qui-Gon Jinn's been killed and Darth Maul's just like snarling, running his lightsaber across the floor, and there's that like energy shield door, and Obi-Wan's on the other side, and they're both angry faces at each other, and you know it's all going to go off. That's how it felt when it came down to Asuka as the last person, and Shayna Baszler, and Asuka's in the pod waiting to get out. And it's like, this is good. And then they dropped the ball massively on Shayna Baszler. So yeah, Shayna's in there, absolutely. FTR, you mentioned 100%, man. Ricochet, I mean, it's tricky on Ricochet because he has just been the Intercontinental Champion, but then what does the Intercontinental Championship mean these days? I'm sure I saw a stat today, and it kind of, I haven't checked it, so I don't know if it's right, but it's one of those where it's like, really? That the IC title hasn't been defended on the pay-per-view for like a year, which, yeah. But yeah, Ricochet be on there for me. Cesaro, if that's one I always come back to, just, I mean, when you've got someone like Mick Foley coming out and saying, like, I cannot believe this guy's not been world champion. I cannot believe you've let this guy go. I cannot believe you've done more with it. You know, you've done messed up with that fella. Yeah, Cesaro will be on there. Samoa Joe in a way, because there was that moment when they could have pulled the trigger on Samoa Joe with Brock Lesnar. Chad Gable could be another one. Lately, I really do like the Alpha Academy. Before that, there was a bit where it's like, what are you doing with him? And hey, I'll always come back to Marty Jannetty, man. The Marty Jannetty could have been a main event talent. Of course, the reason Marty Jannetty wasn't is because Marty Jannetty done messed up lots and lots of times. Right, I'm going to get through these quickly. Mark Solid, hey Mark. Among the legend, if you could build a football club out of wrestlers, AEW versus WWE, who would you pick? Oh, that's a question. The Doggos love to be together. There we go. What a picture of Apollo and two of his pals. I especially like the one at the back, which was just totally pancaked. Right. I had a little think about this one beforehand, and I'm going to go with a 5-side team rather than a full 11. From AEW, I'm going to have, I'm not sure what positions. I'm going to have Miro because he's just a brute. I'm going to have John Moxley because you need a vicious son of a gun in your football team sometimes. I'm going to go with FTR because the best tag team in the business, brother, and you need teamwork in a football team. And I'm going to go with Johnny Hungy as just ball of energy. So we've got Miro, Mox, FTR, John Silver against Ridge Holland because he's a former professional rugby player and he's built like a tank. Sheamus, similar reasons, built like a tank. And again, you need someone vicious, and Sheamus very much is. Gunther, I'm still getting used to that name. Walter, we're going to have Walter. I'm not having Gunther in my team. I'm having Walter in my team. I'm going to go with Bron Breakker. Again, legit athlete, football player, NFL, the American football, not the proper football. And I'm going to go with Shinsuke Nakamura. Just the kicks on the guy. There we go. That's my 5-on-5, 5-a-side football. Matt Reyes. Hey, Matt. Good morning, brother. What are some matches that you personally like to see at Forbidden Door? The possibilities are seemingly endless. Cheers, my man. I'm just seeing right now, as I'm recording this, midway through the news, that Jay White is the new IWGP Heavyweight Champion. If only I'd held out for a little bit. That's pretty big news. So that changes things. Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. is the big one for me. And now I'm thinking of this. I want Jay White and Hangman Page, and then we get Adam Cole and Okada. I don't want to triple it. Like, it seemed like on AEW TV they were kind of maybe teasing a triple threat of Okada versus Hangman versus Adam Cole. I'd rather not have that. If we're doing that, I'd rather just have Hangman versus Okada. But if now that Jay White is the IWGP World Champion, I'm thinking Hangman Page versus Jay White versus Switchblade, and maybe we get Adam Cole versus Okada. Obviously, we got Tanahashi versus Moxley. I'd like to see the FTR versus Guerrillas of Destiny, man. That it doesn't look like we're getting that because it obviously United Empire instead with FTR. Or maybe more, Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan. I'd see they just won the tag titles. So yeah, for me, if you could somehow do it and rejiggle it around, I'd have Guerrillas of Destiny versus FTR. I'd like to see something somehow, not a match, but something involving the Great Muta and Sting together. Just those two on the screen all these years later. That, again, will put a smile on this face. See, a lot of the matches that I'd like to see are ones we're not going to get, just if you look at the booking right now, because Pac and Will Ospreay, that just kind of, that writes itself for me. But again, both are in very different paths. Pac's going for the random title that I've completely forgot the name of, All Atlantic title, that one. He's going to be going for that. Ospreay is, again, United Empire stuff is happening. Samoa Joe, Tomohiro Ishii, that seems to write itself. Oh, mind you, Miro and Ishii as well. Miro and Ishii, yeah, that could be fun. I mean, Eddie Kingston and Ishii and somebody who, yeah, just two hosses going at it. I mean, Andrade and Naito seem, you kind of have to clump them together, I guess. I don't know, lost in the yeah, there's so many possibilities. Daniel Garcia, you think's gonna have. I mean, Jericho. What do you do with Jericho on this? Do they have a role? The Jericho Appreciation Society have a role? You'd like to think they would. Sammy Guevara and El Desperado. That seems like a match that would just scare the life out of me in the best possible way. So yeah, loads of possibilities, loads and loads of possibilities. I feel like this has ran on for loads and loads of minutes, so apologies whether it's a Ryan for this one. It's Sunday. It's you know what you're gonna get on the Sunday. It's normally me rambling with some plenty of black coffee in me. So swing a coffee for the working man. I hope you're having a great Sunday, whatever you're going to be doing with it. Thanks for coming over to What Culture Wrestling. Be sure to follow us at What Culture WWE. Be sure to follow me at Culture Left Peg on the Twitter. Like, subscribe, comment, share, blah, 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 blah. And while you're here, go and check out an interview we've got, because next weekend is Impact Wrestling Slammiversary. It's the 20th anniversary of Impact's first ever show when they're doing the weekly pay-per-views. It just so happens to be next Sunday, the 19th of June. And ahead of that, I got to catch up with the wonderful Eric Young, who's challenging for the walking weapon, Josh Alexander's Impact World title. So yeah, be sure to check out that video. It's around somewhere. It's here. It might even be one of these, around there as they do. But yeah, I've been Andrew Pollard. This has been What Culture Wrestling. Have a great Sunday, and I will catch you next weekend.